Welcome to my channel. My name is Avijit Chaki, and from here onwards we are going to solve all the gate questions. All means all. For now today we are going to start with stress and strain analysis and properties of material. So let us get on with the question. The first question is the axial movement of the top surface of the stepped column as shown in the figure. It is of 2 marks. Now this question came in the year 1989 when IIT Kanpur conducted the exam. Okay. So for the solution of this, the first question, it came in the year 1989 by IIT Kanpur. Okay. What we require to find, we are required to find the axial movement of top surface. What does this mean? It means we need to find the deflection at the top surface. We need to find the deflection. Deflection at the top surface. Okay. This is our requirement. Now, in the question, the diagram is drawn like this. This is a column. This is another column. A load on the column is acting, which is given by P. Axial rigidity is AE for the first segment, and the axial rigidity of the second segment is 2AE. The length is same for both. Suppose this is body 1, this is body 2. And what I have said right just now, axial rigidity A E is the axial rigidity. Axial rigidity. Here A is the cross-sectional area. Cross-section, I'm going to write it as C/S, cross-sectional area. And E is the Young's modulus. This is the Young's modulus. Now, to solve this kind of equation, first we need to find out what type of body, or should I say what type of connection the bodies are making. The type of connection the bodies are making. Type of connection. Is it series or parallel? Okay. Now, in this case, from the diagram, we can see that the load is passing through the axis or through the longitudinal axis, the body. Therefore, the connection is in series. The bodies are in series. Let me provide you another example. What type of series connection look like? Series connection. Now here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A load is acting like this. Now in this case, the total deflection of the entire body is given by delta L is equal to delta L1 plus delta L2 plus delta L3 plus delta L4 plus delta L5. Okay. Okay. Now we find out that the connection is in series. Therefore, similarly, we are going to draw the FBD diagram, that is the free body diagram. FBD diagram of the first body. This is body 1. Okay. Now for the second one. Okay. This is the FBD. Okay. This is the FBD of the second body. That is the free body diagram of the second body. Now, deflection of the top surface, if we are going to write it like this, let us write like this: deflection of the top surface is equal to deflection of body 1 plus deflection of body 2. Now, therefore, delta L is equal to delta L1, that is the body 1, plus delta L2. Therefore, the deflection is given by PL by AE plus PL by 2AE. Okay. Therefore, we are going to solve this. PL by AE 1 plus half is equal to 1.5 by PL by AE. Okay. This is the answer. Therefore, here option C is the correct one. Okay, now for question number 2. Question number 2 states that the principle of superposition is used in structural computation when the geometry of the structure changes by a finite amount, the change in the geometry of the structure during the application of the load is too small, and the strain in the structure are directly proportional to the corresponding stress. The strain in the structure are not directly proportional to the corresponding stress, even though the effect of change in geometry can be neglected. D is none of the above conditions are met. Now, in this option A, B, C and D, 1 is the correct answer. Now, let me first tell you one thing, is that the principle of superposition is a concept of structural analysis used to find the deflection of a beam. So let me write like this. I forgot to mention, this question came in the year 1990. Okay. 2. Question number 2. Superposition theorem, right? Superposition theorem. Superposition theorem is what, like I said, concept of structural analysis. Concept of structural analysis. Okay. It is used to find the deflection. It is used to find the deflection. Okay, deflection of a beam. Now, deflection means the structural displacement. What I am referring to here is that, let me draw a quick beam. Okay, let me draw a cantilever beam here. Say, suppose this is my cantilever beam. A load is acting on the cantilever beam at the tip of the cantilever beam. Say this load is P1. Another load is acting at the same point but at the downward direction, I mean the upward direction, as P2. Okay. Therefore, the superposition theorem states that to find out the displacement, that is the structural displacement of this beam, that is the free end of this beam, what we are going to do, we are going to take individually all the loads acting at a point. Say for example, this is the same beam. Let us consider load 1. This is P1. Okay. The deflection due to this load is taking place in the downward direction. Let me denote it as delta P1. This is the deflection due to load P1. Okay, in the downward direction. Similarly, we are going to take another, I mean to say the same beam. We are taking the same beam and we are applying the second load, that is load P2. Okay, the deflection of this beam is taking place like this in the upward direction. This is given by delta P2. Okay. What is superposition theorem is saying? Superposition theorem is saying that when the deflection at a given point in a structure produced by several loads, so this is load 1, this is load 2. These are the two loads acting on the structure at different points. We have considered it to be the same point. Let us consider it to be the same point. Acting on the structure simultaneously, we can found by superpositioning the deflection at the same point produced by the load acting individually. So therefore the deflection of the entire beam is given by delta, that is the deflection of the entire beam is given by total deflection is given by delta P1 plus delta P2. That is, we are going to add them up. Now this is the superposition theorem. Now there is a criteria. There are two criteria mainly which is required to satisfy the superposition theorem. What are those? Criteria. Okay. Criteria number 1. The first criteria is that the linear relationship between the external force, let me write it down, linear between external force in this example it is P1 and P2, this is an example, okay, example P1 and P2, there should exist a linear relationship between what? The external force and their corresponding structural displacement. Okay, the linear relationship exists between the external force and their corresponding structural displacement. For example, P1 and delta P1 should be linearly dependent on each other. Similarly, P2 and delta P2 should be linearly dependent on each other. This is criteria 1. Now for criteria 2. The criteria 2 states that there should be negligible deformation. Okay, the deformation should be negligible. Negligible deformation, DEFORMATION. Okay, what does this mean? It means geometry of the structure both before, let me write it down, geometry of the structure both before after deflection remain same. Okay, what does this mean? It means the cross-sectional area of the beam is same both before and after deflection. It means the strain produced is small. Small strain. Now, let me draw a beam. This is going to be a rough sketch. This is the beam. Now, this is the cross-sectional area. This red portion is the cross-sectional area. Let us take. And we are bending this beam. Say, suppose we are applying a moment. And the beam is bended. The bended structure of the beam seems like this. Okay. In this case, this is the bend beam. It is forming an arch shape. This cross-sectional area, both before and after the bending, must remain same. Okay. Therefore, for this particular answer, option B will be the correct one. The change in the geometry of the structure during the application of the load is too small, and the strain in the structure are directly proportional to the corresponding stress. This will be the option, correct one. Okay friends, now time for question number 3. It came in the year 1991. Let me just add this page. It came in the year 1991. Question number 3. Okay, what does the question says? The maximum value of Poisson's ratio for an elastic material is which of these? A, B, C or D? Now, it is a theory based question. So, for that, first we need to understand what is the Poisson's ratio. What is Poisson's ratio? Poisson's ratio is given by a ratio of negative of lateral strain by longitudinal strain. Okay, it is Poisson's ratio. Now, for mostly isotropic material, that is isotropic linear elastic material, isotropic linear material, it ranges from minus 0.1 to 0.5. Okay, therefore the maximum value of Poisson's ratio in this case is 0.5. Therefore option is B, 0.5. Now for question number 4. It also came in the year 1991. Question number 4. Now in this question, what is given? The question is given like in a linear elastic structural element, 4 options: stiffness is directly proportional to flexibility, stiffness is inversely proportional to flexibility, stiffness is equal to flexibility, stiffness and flexibility are not related. Okay, now to know this, first you need to know what is stiffness and what is flexibility. Okay, let us discuss that. Now, what is stiffness? Stiffness is the resistance against deformation. So when I am writing stiffness, it is nothing but the resistance against deformation. Okay, and flexibility is given by easy to deform. That means with which it is easy to deform a structure. Okay. Now, what is the formula of stiffness? Stiffness is given by force upon displacement or deformation. And flexibility is given by deformation upon force. Okay. Now, from this, it is clear that both stiffness and flexibility are inversely related. However, let me explain this. What is stiffness first? Say, let me draw a normal structure. So this is my normal structure, and we are pulling it with a force P. Okay, the length of the structure is L. So after this pull, the structural element becomes like this. It was the previous structure element changes in length. The change in length is delta L, and this is the original length. This is the change in length. Okay. Now we know that stress, that is sigma, is stress, and strain are directly proportional, and stress upon strain gives us Young's modulus E. Okay. From here we can write it like stress is given by force upon area, that is the cross-sectional area, divided by strain is given upon change in length upon original length. Okay. Therefore, the change in length can be represented as delta L is equal to PL upon AE. Okay. Now, here AE by L is equal to, let's say, P upon delta. I'm just going to rearrange this equation. Okay. What is it gives us? It gives us axial stiffness. Okay. It is represented by K. Therefore, axial flexibility is given by delta L upon P, which is L by EA. Which is also represented as inverse of K. Therefore, from here we can see that stiffness inversely proportional to flexibility. Therefore, the option is this one. Stiffness is inversely proportional to flexibility. Now moving on to the next question. It is a theory, not a theory, but a mathematical based problem. What is given here? The total elongation of the structural element fixed at one end and free at the other end, and of varying cross section are shown in the figure. Now this is a structural element of varying cross section. Here the cross section is A after to 2a. Okay, then again after length L it changes to A again. Okay, now what we can see from this arrangement is that all of the three are connected in series. Okay, therefore I can say it like this: all the bars are connected in series connection. This question also came in the year 1991, question number 5. This is body 1, this is body 2, this is body 3. The length is same for all the three, L, and the area is a bit different. For the first one it is A, for the second it is 2A, and for the third it is also A. Okay, a load P is acting like this. Therefore, a load P will also act at this end, that is the fixed end. Series connection, okay, the bars are in series connection. Okay, therefore we can say that the total deflection delta L total is given by delta L1 plus delta L2 plus delta L3. Deflection due to this part, and this part. Now, for your convenience sake, you can also draw a free body diagram. So let me draw the free body diagram first. This is the free body diagram part 1, body 1, body 2, body 3. Okay? Therefore, the deflection is given by delta L total T is given by deflection due to this part, it is given by PL by A plus delta L2, which is for body 2, is given by PL upon 2AE, since the area is a bit more here. Now for the third part, similarly, it is delta L3 is given by PL upon AE. Therefore, if we take common PL by AE common, 1 plus half plus 1. The answer comes out to be 2.5 PL by AE. Okay, so let us check the option first. Here it is, option number C. Okay, 2.5 PL by AE. Now for question number 6. A cantilever beam of tubular section consists of two material. One is of copper as outer cylinder and steel as inner cylinder. It is subjected to a temperature rise of 20 degrees Celsius, such that here alpha copper means coefficient of thermal expansion of copper is greater than the coefficient of thermal expansion of steel. The stresses developed in the tube will be, what kind of stress will be developed in the tube? Now some of the options are given, like compression in steel, tension in copper, tension in steel, compression in copper, no stress in both, tension in both the material. what kind of stresses it will generate. Now, at first you need to identify what kind of question it is. It is a question of composite section. Okay. Let me draw this. It will be easy to understand. This question came in the year 1991. Question number 6. Okay. Now for the tubular cylinder part, let me first draw it. This is the steel section. Okay. Inner steel section. And this is the outer copper section. This is the copper, and inside one is the steel. Okay. Now what we are going to do is that we are going to convert this diagram, but we are keeping the principle same. What I am trying to say is that we are going to take a composite section, this is the same composite section where this is the copper and this is the steel. Length of both the section is L. Okay, there is a composite section. Let me write here COM. We are using the same principle. The same principle, composite section. Okay. Now what is given? Alpha copper is greater than alpha steel. Okay, this is given to us. It is a very important. Alpha copper means coefficient of thermal expansion of copper, and alpha steel means coefficient of thermal expansion of steel. Now what is noteworthy to here is that when the temperature changes, say, let me first write temperature. When the temperature changes, say, let me say if it increases or if it decreases, what happens is that the length, that is the total length of this composite section also changes. Okay, suppose that change is given by delta L is equal to L alpha del T. Here L is the actual length, of the section, alpha is the coefficient of thermal expansion, okay, and delta T is the change in temperature. Change in temperature. We are actually changing the temperature to 20 degrees Celsius. So when the temperature is increasing, here it says the temperature has been increased. Okay, when the temperature is increasing, what is happening? Both steel and copper will want to extend or expand. Here this word want to expand is very important. Both of them are trying to expand. But what is happening is the expansion in copper is more than steel. Okay, as alpha of copper is greater than alpha of steel. Okay, therefore change in copper is greater than change in length of steel. What is happening here is that copper, though wanting to expand, cannot due to steel, is pulling the copper backward. The copper is being pulled by the steel backward. Okay, and since the copper is want to expand more than the steel, the copper is actually pulling the steel. What is happening here? The copper is in compression due to steel, and steel is in tension due to copper. Now this phenomenon will reverse if the temperature is decreased. Therefore, the answer will be tension in steel and compression in copper. Question number 7. The material that exhibits same elastic property in all direction at a point. Well, it is isotropic. Not much to explain here. Now, question number 1.8. The stress strain diagram of two materials A and B is shown in the figure. First of all, let's check the question. The following statements are made based on this diagram. Okay. The material is more brittle than material B. The ultimate strength of material B is more than that of A. Now, this 0.2 number is very easy. What is stating here? The ultimate strength of the material. Now, what is ultimate strength? It is the maximum amount of stress that can be applied to a material before it fails. Okay, say we are pulling the material, okay, or we are compressing the material. The maximum amount of stress the material can possess or the material can take is the ultimate strength of the material. Now in this diagram it is clear that the maximum stress obtained, let me draw with this red one. The maximum stress obtained by material A is more than that of material B. Okay, say stress in A is greater than stress in B. Stress in A is greater than stress in B. Okay, therefore the ultimate strength of material A is more than that of B. Therefore this statement is false. This is a false statement. Okay, now if we just match the following, both the statements are false, both the statements are true. One is true, two is false, one is false and true. So we don't know if it is this one or both the statements are false. Okay, this and this has also been declined. It may be A or C. Now to differentiate between these two, we are going to consider the first one. The material A is more brittle than material B. Okay, Now we are going to verify this. How we are going to verify? Let me just add a page here. So what we are doing here right now is question number 7 is that we are going to draw the stress strain diagram. Okay. Okay. This is for material A. This is stress. This is strain. Okay. Now it is clear this is the and this. From here to here it is elastic range. Okay. This is the elastic range. And from here to here it is the plastic range. Plastic range. Okay. Now here we can see that the elastic range of A is greater than the plastic range of A. Okay. From the diagram it is clear. The elastic range of A is greater than the plastic range of A. Now plastic range means the plastic deformation. Plastic deformation. Okay. This is for material A. Now for material B, we are going to do the same. We are going to draw a stress strain curve. Now this is the PR range, plastic range, and this is the ER range. Okay. We can write it that the elastic range of B, material B, is less than the plastic range of B. That is, the plastic range of B is more than the elastic range of B. Now, why we are concerned with the plastic range and the plastic elastic range is that the question is here given that what is the brittleness, which is the brittlest material. Okay. Now what does brittleness mean? Brittleness means less plastic deformation. Now in both this material, which has the less plastic deformation or the plastic range? A. Therefore we can say that A is more brittle than B. Therefore the option will be A is more brittle than B. Okay. Therefore the option is C. not A. 1 is true, 2 is false. Okay. Now for question number 9. The question number 9 is given as dimension for the flexural rigidity of a beam element in mass m, length L and time t is given by. We need to find out the dimension of flexural rigidity. First we need to know what is flexural rigidity. Question number 9 came in the year 2000. Okay. Now, what is flexural rigidity? Flexural rigidity is given by EI. EI. This is known as flexural rigidity. Here, E is the Young's modulus. Young's modulus, and I, the moment of inertia. Moment of inertia. Now we need to find the dimension. So to find out the dimension, first we need to aware ourselves with what is the unit of Young's modulus and what is the unit of moment of inertia. Now the unit of Young's modulus is given by Newton per meter square. Let us take meter square. Okay. And for moment of inertia, it is meter to the power 4 or millimeter to the power 4 or centimeter to the power 4, whatever it is to the power 4, any length to the power 4. Similarly, it is Newton per say millimeter square. Okay, this is force upon length square. Now Newton per meter square into millimeter, meter to the power 4. What does it mean? Here let me write as Newton, N-E-U-T-O-N, per meter square into meter to the power 4. Now Newton is the unit of force, so we can write it as force upon length. We are going to change the meter into length L square into L to the power 4. Now force is given as mass upon acceleration due to gravity. Let us say acceleration, mass into acceleration. Now these kind of concept we have we have completed in class 9 or 10, right? The second principle of the Newton's second law. Okay, mass into acceleration, length square into L to the power 4. Now we know as mass can be represented as m and acceleration can be represented as L upon t square, L upon t square divided by L square into L to the power 4. Therefore we can write it as m L t to the power 2 by L to the power 2 into L to the power 4. Now it can be written as m L cube t to the power minus 2, m L cube t to the power minus 2. Therefore the answer is answer B, m L cube t to the power minus 2. Now for the next question. For question number 10, here given the shear modulus G and modulus of elasticity E and Poisson's ratio mu of a material is related as, we need to find the relation between these. Here it is given the shear modulus is represented as G, modulus of elasticity as E, and Poisson's ratio as mu. Okay. Now, what is the relationship between these three? Let me add a page here. Okay, let me first write some of the relationship between. Okay. These three. E, that is the Young's modulus, is equal to 2 times G, which is the shear modulus, by 1 plus mu. This is one. Another one is there, E is equal to K, where K is the bulk modulus, 1 minus 2 mu. Also, E can be written as 9 kg by 3k plus G. E is equal to 3k minus 2G by 6k plus 2G. Oh, sorry. Not E. Mu is equal to 3k minus 2G by 6k plus 2G. Okay. Here K is the bulk modulus. Rest of the modulus is given here. G is the shear modulus. Modulus of elasticity is given by E, and Poisson's ratio as mu. Okay. Therefore, the option here in this case is option number A. This one. Okay, now friends, that is for today. Thank you for watching up till now. Do subscribe my channel